Those years in quest of honor mine. Chapter 27. Zhongyuan glanced at the driver of the carriage. The latter lowered his head in shame. Helplessness settled in the pit of his stomach. This person probably belonged to Yushi. What was inevitable could not be escaped from. Zhongyuan disembarked from the carriage and headed for the side courtyard. Yushi had yet to return. The moment Steward Feng caught sight of Zhongyuan, he almost jumped from shock. After he had heard the news from the people leaving the palace, only then did he know what had occurred. Steward Feng's hands shook from rage. Fifth Prince is Yu Shizi's blood-related younger cousin. Her Highness, Consort Yu is Yu Shizi's blood-related aunt. They. As he was speaking, someone arrived. The servant said that someone from the imperial palace came to summon Prince Yu. Zhongyuan furrowed his brows. Was Prince Yu being summoned to reprimand Yushi? How could that be? Steward Feng exhaled. It's certainly to have Prince Yu lecture Her Highness Consort Yu and the Fifth Prince. However, Zhongyuan still felt uneasy. No matter how you put it, it was Yushi who shoved Fifth Prince into the water. Is he really not going to get in trouble? Steward Feng did not seem to care at the slightest. As long as Fifth Prince is alive, then Yu Shizi will be fine. This wasn't the first time either. At the very most, he'd be punished with half a year of salary and 10 days to half a month of house arrest. It's not a big deal. Steward Feng heaved a sigh. Her Highness Consort Yu probably knows that will be the result. As such, she would insist on making this a bigger deal. Steward Feng appeared used to such things. But for some reason, no matter how Zhongyuan thought of it, he found the situation beyond belief. Why did your honored self come here? It was at that moment that Steward Feng had noticed Zhongyuan's presence. Surprise flashing in his eyes, he asked, Why, did your honored self move in so soon? I haven't tidied up anything yet. Helplessly, Zhongyuan said, Your family's Shizi tricked me into coming here. If there's nothing, then may I return home? Steward Feng didn't even have to think about it. Of course not. Since this is Yu Shizi's intention, how could we dare to let you go? The memory of a young Zhongyuan tormenting him for 3 months was carved deep into Steward Feng's mind. He feared Zhongyuan would escape again and threatened in a flash, if your honored self actually sneaks out, what do you think would happen if Yu Shizi returns and doesn't see you? The jut in Zhongyuan's throat bobbed. What would happen? The best case scenario is that he flies into a tantrum and then plans for his compensation. The one who would suffer the most would be you, Steward Feng exaggerated, trying to scare him. In the worst case scenario, he would explode in rage. Then in the middle of the night, he would send people to take down Prince Jian'an's estate and capture you. Prince Jian'an is still ill and cannot bear suffering such a fright. Also, if Yu Shizi sent people to Prince Jian'an's estate in the middle of the night to take you, do you still want your reputation? Mentally drained, Zhongyuan stared at Steward Feng. Last time, after you tried to persuade me, it incited Yushi to run to our residence and ask me for an explanation. At that time, I've already lost all of my reputation. Having pointed out his wrong, Steward Feng smiled in an embarrassed manner. Last time, I was muddle-headed and didn't explain things clearly, involving young Master Zhong wrongly. But this time, it's different. Think about it. Just now in the palace, Yu Shizi had already pulled a tantrum. If we send you back when he's at the height of his temper, what do you think would happen to you? With a blank expression, Zhongyuan thought, what would he do to me? Once he's furious, would he tie me to the bed and then do this or that? The tips of his ears bloomed crimson. For a moment, he truly wanted to try running away. I won't attempt to leave. I still have questions for him. He coughed, scanning his surroundings. Where should I wait for him? In the study. Other people cannot enter Yu Shizi's study, said Steward Feng, making things up. Just wait in Yushizi's inner chamber. Still exhausted mentally, Zhonwan stared at Steward Feng and asked, "Did you also leave a bathtub in the room with flower petals?" Steward Feng's old face flushed. "Of course not." "Then, young Master Zhon, will you be using the side room from the past?" Distractedly, Zhonwan said, "It's still there." "Naturally. I will escort you." After Steward Feng led Zhonwan to the room he had used in the past, he left. A light sigh escaped Zhonwan's lips. The side room seemed exactly the same as it had in the past. For a moment, Zhonwan thought he had returned to 7 years ago. The only thing different was the addition of a little servant girl who lit the lamp. She appeared to be around 12 to 13 years old. Zhonwan smiled and asked her, "Do you wait upon young Master Yu?" The young maidservant shook her head. It seemed like she wouldn't dare to speak. "You're dismissed. I don't need anyone attending to me." However, the young maidservant didn't dare to leave and remained standing by the side of the desk. Zhonwan was at a loss. With this girl around, he couldn't lie down. He was forced to sit up straight and try to find a topic to talk about. "How long have you worked in this estate?" After a long time, the young maidservant softly said, 5 years. "Oh. Then I've never seen you back then." Zhonwan nodded. "I lived in this estate for a while in the past." "Back then, you were probably just 4 or 5 years old." The little servant girl looked at Zhonwan with a timid gaze. He couldn't kick her out or hold a conversation with her. In passing, Zhonwan grabbed a book to read. Right after reading 2 pages, he caught sight of the little servant girl slowly approaching the desk. Zhonwan continued to read, taking note of her from his peripheral vision. Thinking Zhonwan would not notice, the little servant girl opened a small incense burner as her hands trembled. Zhonwan flipped another page. The sound of the page suddenly turning frightened the young maidservant to the point of pulling back her hands. She didn't dare to move from her place again. Zhonwan suspected that Steward Feng instructed this girl to do something. The child didn't have much courage and wasn't clever. She had not finished what she was supposed to do before he entered the room. He still didn't speak, reading and flipping through the pages of the book. A while later, the young maidservant once again approached the desk, lightly opening the box of incense. Trembling with fear, she grabbed a large handful of sleeping incense. Zhonwan was speechless. At such a young age, she was so merciless. It was unknown what kind of instructions the young maidservant had received. After she thought for a moment, she grabbed another handful of incense sticks and inserted them into the incense burner. Since there were so many, it almost seemed to have put out the coal. As her hand shook, she closed the lid of the incense burner and then moved to stand at the side. The sleeping incense burned strongly, releasing a thick smoke. Zhonwan couldn't help but sneeze. It scared the young maidservant so much that she trembled like a chick. "You're dismissed." Zhonwan was beyond angry. "I'm tired. A little girl like you shouldn't be watching me sleep, right?" She had already completed her task in the first place. She did not dare to stay here any longer. She bowed and retreated as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Zhonwan rose to his feet, not knowing whether he should laugh or cry as he stared at the little incense burner. Back in those years, when the young Yushi had forced him to fall asleep, he had only used 3 to 5 pieces of sleeping incense. Steward Feng, this old thing, was too ruthless. This incense burner was filled to the brim with sleeping incense. Wasn't it to knock him out? Zhonwan covered his mouth and nose, coughing twice. He lifted the teacup and poured it onto the incense burner. Then he turned around and lay down on the bed. He did not know if Yushi would return tonight. Zhonwan couldn't help but laugh. Thank goodness this was only sleeping incense. If it were an aphrodisiac and he was alone in the room all night, he would have been ruined by that old thing. He was most afraid of this kind of sleeping incense. After breathing in the fumes, he felt sleepy in mere moments. He rubbed at the center of his brows, mind growing hazy. Zhonwan still did not understand what was up with Yushi's background. First, let's ignore Xianqiang's hurtful words. Yushi had truly harmed an imperial prince. Yet he still didn't get in trouble? Just what was Emperor Chang'an thinking? Could it be that the aging Emperor Chang'an had too many things to take into account, so he didn't dare to do anything with Yushi? Zhonwan drew his brows together a shade. He thought about Xianzheng. Then he sighed, thinking that Emperor Chang'an's life truly wasn't good. He only had 2 sons remaining, one more incompetent than the other. Xianzheng, this kind of stupid thing, was still in his own estate piecing back together the colored glass cup. Xianqiang. Zhonwan had never interacted with him much before. But looking at the terrible mess he had caused today, he knew that in these past few years, Xianqiang did not improve at all. Thinking of things from Emperor Chang'an's perspective, Zhonwan felt his heart chill the more he thought of it. If Yushi were truly the son of Emperor Chang'an, then out of Xianzheng and Xianqiang, who would the emperor pick? One would fear that in the future, both of them would not be able to fend it off if Yushi revolt. However, there had to be someone to succeed the throne. Emperor Chang'an was approaching 60 years old. Even if the previous emperors blessed him to have another son, Emperor Chang'an could not hold on until the new prince came of age. Yet to reiterate, there had to be someone to succeed the throne. Zhonwan turned over in bed sporting a headache. Did Emperor Chang'an truly desire for Yushi to ascend the throne? If that was true, then neither Xianzheng nor Xianqiang could be left alive. If Yushi wanted this position, he definitely would not keep around these perfectly legitimate imperial princes. The more Zhonwan thought of it, the more anxious he grew. He started to feel concerned for Xian Rui, who had taken the medicine. Xian Rui had been ill for a few days. Today, with great difficulty they had obtained a chance to ask Emperor Chang'an for them to return home. Yet, it just had to be ruined by Xianqiang's annoying antics. Zhonwan was furious to the point of grinding his teeth. The sleeping incense made his mind hazy and hard to function. After a while of worrying, he fell asleep. Xianzheng and Xianqiang had already foreseen what would happen, so they had long since prepared to eliminate Yushi. Zhonwan slept poorly. In a daze, he felt as if he had returned to his youth, when he had fallen ill and Lin Si had taken care of him. At that time, Zhonwan had already sent his message out. Then his worries vanished and his past self fell asleep. Every day, he had only been conscious for half an hour intermittently but was unable to open his eyes. He recalled Lin Si, this careless person, pouring the medicine down his throat. It reminded him of when they used to have water fights in Prince Ning's estate, with Lin Si splashing the water directly at his face. The Zhonwan of the past used all his strength to hold back the bowl of medicine, and said to Lin Si through gritted teeth, "Go away." But by chance, this was heard by Yushi, who had been suppressing his anger. The young Yushi thought those words had been meant for him and his face became green, then another moment became white, before he turned around and left. Young Zhonwan saw that he had been misunderstood and was so angry he almost threw up blood. He rushed so much that he fell down the bed, knocking himself out. Even in this moment of slumber, Zhonwan thought of how to coax Yushi. He was incomparably anxious. He wanted to fight with Lin Si but didn't have the energy. Fortunately, Yushi seemed to have returned by himself later on. In the first place, Zhonwan did not remember how Yushi had taken care of him back then. But in his dream, he seemed to have seen it. He watched as the young Yushi hugged his young self helplessly. Used a small spoon to feed him medicine bit by bit. Every time he successfully fed him, he would take out a candy pouch from his placket, and place a candy in his mouth. Then Zhonwan saw his young self, coughing and vomiting. Yushi pulled him close in an embrace and patted his pack. Then he rolled up his sleeves and had someone send a basin of water over, personally washing Zhonwan's body. Zhonwan also saw the young Yushi blushed and fidgeted. After hesitating for 1 hour, he approached the bed and lightly undressed Zhonwan. In his dream, Zhonwan laughed softly. He almost laughed himself awake. Still not sober, he felt as if there were someone sitting at the head of the bed. Zhonwan had slept on this bed in the past for more than half a year and was very familiar with it. As such, he did not wake up with a start. The sleeping incense made him delirious. He wondered if he were starting an erotic dream in the middle of remembering moments in his youth. The Yushi of that time hadn't been that tall. Zhonwan faintly felt the person sitting at the bedside lean down a little, leaning very close to him. He heard the sound of friction between fabric. Felt the other person stroke his hair. Cold fingers ran through those locks, making Zhonwan so comfortable that he narrowed his eyes. Out of reflex, he leaned closer to the touch, rubbing his cheek on that person's hand. The other person immediately pulled their hand back. Zhonwan frowned. A while later, he felt his clothes being undone little by little. He acted on instinct to clutch at his clothes to keep them on, but someone lightly pressed his wrist onto the side of the pillow. The person didn't use much force, merely restricting Zhonwan's movement without making him uncomfortable. Zhonwan was unable to rouse. He felt the person in his dream gradually undress him, then supported his lower back, removing his outer robe. They placed it to the side. The other person then placed their hands on the collar of his inner garment. Those slender and long fingers hesitated as they touched the highest button. A while later, the hands left, leaving the button as it was. In his dream, Zhonwan was unsure whether he was rejoiceful or regretful. He faintly moved, thinking the dream was coming to an end. But in the next second, the other party leaned down again, suddenly leaning very close to Zhonwan. Zhonwan felt the other person's hair brushing his neck, cold to the touch. The other person's breath was close to his ears. All of a sudden, Zhonwan felt aroused. Under his breath and still asleep, he murmured, "Sui you." At that moment, the other person's breathing grew rough and ragged. The sleeping incense's potency finally hit him entirely. And Zhonwan was completely knocked out. Early the next morning, Zhonwan sat in bed, staring blankly at his outer robe on the foot of the bed. He remembered in vivid detail that last night, he did not remove that article of clothing. How did it come off? The clothes had even been folded. It was clear that he hadn't removed them while still dreaming from discomfort. He took a deep breath. Zhonwan had a faint impression that he had missed something last night. Outside, Steward Feng knocked on the door. He then pushed the door open and entered. He stole a glance at Zhonwan, his gaze evasive. A sliver of hope sprang from Zhonwan's heart. He strived his best to keep his tone natural as he asked, "Last night, did young prince you return to the estate?" Steward Feng cautiously nodded. "Once he had returned, he came to where you were." Despair enveloped Zhonwan. He frantically tried to recall whether he had lost control of his mouth. If he called out a name that he shouldn't have or said something he shouldn't have. Steward Feng carefully asked, "Young Master Zhon, does your honored self want?" Voice trembling, Zhonwan said, "I don't want hot water." Steward Feng swallowed. All right, you don't want it? But I'm worried about how quiet you are." "Why?" Zhonwan was completely disheartened. "Should I be biting the covers and sobbing, 'I'm so dirty, I'm so dirty,' then?" End chapter. Those Years in Quest of Honor Mine. Chapter 28. Zhonwan still retained a last bit of hope. He forced himself to ask, "How long, did young prince you stayed in this room last night?" Steward Feng cleared his throat. 4 hours. 4 hours. So many things could have happened. Zhonwan furiously thought back but couldn't remember anything. The only faint impression he had was a slight feeling that someone had been sitting on the edge of the bed looking at him when he had been half asleep. It seemed like that someone had been Yushi. What had he actually done? Zhonwan felt around with flushed ears. No part of his body felt uncomfortable, but did Yushi truly just sat still for 4 hours? And didn't find it too tiring? Not sleeping in the middle of the night and staring at him for 4 hours instead. That's a pretty terrifying thought. Zhonwan picked up his outer garment. His heart rate slightly increased once more. If he had only sat there for 4 hours, then how did this get taken off? So worrisome. Zhonwan did his best to ignore Steward Feng's curious gaze. While he dressed, he forced himself to say, "Where is young Prince Yu? I have questions to ask him." Steward Feng glanced at Zhonwan awkwardly. He lowered his voice and said, "Yu Shizi ordered us to send you back to Prince Jian'an's estate after you wake up." What? Zhonwan almost thought that he had heard wrong. He wants me to leave just like that? He doesn't even have anything to say to me. Steward Feng shook his head. He also felt that Yushi was being dishonorable regarding this matter. Feeling embarrassed, he said, "Yu Shizi said he doesn't want to see you. He wants you to leave as soon as you wake up." Didn't want to see him? Zhonwan couldn't speak for a long time because of shock. "Your honorable estate," Zhonwan got out with difficulty, "when your honorable estate invited an opera singer to stay the night, you would at least pay them some hard work fees and reward them with money to take a horse carriage back, right? Young Prince Yu won't even give me a bite of breakfast before kicking me out." Steward Feng hurriedly placated, "How can young Master Zhong be compared with such people? Am I even lowlier than actors?" Zhonwan stated furiously. "How much does Yu Sui Yu spend on actors normally? Give that amount to me." Steward Feng became troubled. "Yu Shizi has never summoned an actor. How would I know how much that would cost?" Zhonwan paused, then tried very hard to force down the corner of his mouth that was threatening to lift up. "Is that so?" "Naturally. Yu Shizi never touches those unclean people." Steward Feng pondered a bit before saying, "Is young Master Zhong hungry? If you're hungry, I'll order people to prepare food now. But, after you've eaten breakfast, you'll really have to leave." Zhonwan weakly replied, "I'm not hungry. Wait, I wasn't even the one who wanted to visit. I got kidnapped here yesterday. How come it seems like I was the one eager to come find him and is now being kicked out?" Steward Feng followed Yushi's previous orders and lowered his head to explain, "Yu Shizi said that yesterday, Fifth Prince was originally planning on kidnapping you. It's unknown what he planned to do to you." Zhonwan didn't understand why would Steward Feng bring this matter up. He nodded in a daze. Steward Feng said bluntly, "Then it didn't matter, right? Yesterday, you were supposed to be kidnapped anyways. If it wasn't Yu Shizi, then it would have been someone else. In order to foil the Fifth Prince attempt, he kidnapped you instead." Zhonwan. This logic actually made some fucking sense after thinking about it carefully. Zhonwan took a couple deep breaths. He refused to be led down Yushi's crazy trail of thought. He forced his anger down and asked in response, "If someone were to try and stab me with a knife tomorrow and young Prince Yu blocked the attack for me, does that mean he could stab me any time he wanted? After all, I would have been stabbed either way." Steward Feng thought about this. Carefully, he replied, "According to Yu Shizi's logic, that is correct." Zhonwan swallowed the "what if someone suddenly wanted to fuck me the day after tomorrow" that was already on the tip of his tongue and nodded. "Fine. I'll take it. Go find someone to ready the carriage. I'm leaving." Steward Feng hurriedly went to give the order. The servants at Prince Yu's estate were good at their jobs. Not long after, they politely sent Zhonwan away. Zhonwan got kidnapped under unclear and deceptive circumstances, then got sent back in a cloud of confusion, too. After safely sending Zhonwan home, Steward Feng returned to speak with Yushi. Yushi lay on the chaise lounge, eyes half shut. He hadn't slept at all last night. Now, there were faint shadows under his eyes. Yushi heard Steward Feng's footsteps. Without opening his eyes, he asked, "Have you sent him away?" Steward Feng bowed. He had been sent away. Yushi's mouth twitched. He seemed to want to ask something but didn't. Steward Feng tried to figure out what Yushi was thinking. He took the initiative to say, "Young Master Zhong was very shocked when he woke up this morning. He inquired for a long time, asking if Yushizi had gone to see him yesterday and how long Yushizi had stayed in his room." This old servant answered honestly. Young Master Zhong was quite alarmed. Yushi acted like he hadn't heard anything. Steward Feng spoke half the truth. This is all because young Master Zhong has a good temper. He doesn't think too much about anything. If this were someone intolerant and you kidnapped them then sent them away, they probably would become truly furious. Yushi uncaringly replied, "Let them become as furious as they want." Steward Feng was genuinely confused. Yushizi clearly cares for young Master Zhong. Why must you always act neither friendly nor aloof? Who knows when young Master Zhong is going to return with Prince Jianan to his fief? If you continue acting this way, you may leave. Yushi turned his head to the side impatiently. "I'm sleepy." Steward Feng sighed. He placed a blanket over Yushi before leaving. A long time later, Yushi slowly opened his eyes. He massaged his temples in extreme discomfort. He had first gotten into a fight with Xian Qiang in the palace. After returning, he had then sat on the edge of Zhongwan's bed for a whole night. He was truly sleepy. Yushi originally hadn't planned on doing anything. He only wanted to see Zhongwan. But that reckless thing had just so happened to blindly call out to him in his sleep. Yushi hadn't been able to resist, thus. Yushi closed his eyes and calmed himself down. When Yushi had been observing Zhongwan last night, he had suddenly thought of 7 years ago, the night before Zhongwan had left. At that time, Xian Rui had inherited Prince Ning's position and had already taken his younger brother and sister to his Qianan territory. After receiving this news, Zhongwan acted like he was sitting on needles day and night. He lived in a daze. Young Yushi understood in his heart that he would be unable to keep the other boy around. Back then, Yushi felt pained in his heart whenever he looked at Zhongwan. He understood that his own father had harmed him. He shouldn't forcefully keep the other by his side, but he also couldn't bear not to. Young Yushi couldn't even explain this to himself. In the end, could he not bear to allow Zhongwan to suffer in his fief, or could he not bear to leave this person? Some things were obvious in his heart, but he also didn't know how to say them. For several days, the two of them acted as if they were on the same page, but were actually thinking very different things. Like this, they kept testing each other's boundaries. Yushi remembered that one day, Zhongwan told him out of the blue, "Suiyu, I feel very guilty for ruining your marriage plans last time." Young Zhongwan avoided his gaze and stuttered, "But now that I think about it, Duke Wenguo's granddaughter is very nice too. In the future, you need to find an even better young princess consort you. Otherwise, I'll feel too apologetic. If I learned that your marriage was unhappy, I wouldn't have peace of mind." Yushi also stuttered, "All right. I will definitely find someone better. So, you won't need to worry." Upon hearing this, young Zhongwan became silent for quite a long time. He lowered his head and laughed before softly saying, "As such, I can have a clear conscience." Yushi could faintly tell that there was something wrong with Zhongwan's expression. He wanted to ask further but didn't know how to. The two of them had been this awkward for several days. When they spoke, conversation was always this illogical. Yushi couldn't guess when Zhongwan was going to leave. He worried that the other wouldn't be safe heading to Jianan by himself, so he wanted to ask if he needed him to send some people along to protect him. but he also didn't want to bring the topic up first. What if Zhongyuan wasn't actually planning on leaving? What if Zhongyuan was only worried about Xianrui and would return to normal after a few days? Yushi maintained this last bit of hope, yet still placed several silver notes inside Zhongyuan's room. He feared that Zhongyuan wouldn't be able to see them, so he directly placed them very obviously on the Kong table. Nanjiang was very far away. It would take many months just to make the trip. He would need money along the way, right? If he needed to leave the city, he naturally needed documents as a slave. Yushi forced himself to also find Zhongyuan's self-selling contract. He then wrote a travel approval explaining the situation. He folded the travel approval document and self-selling contract together before putting them under the paperweight on Zhongyuan's desk, making sure that a corner was peeking out. Yushi placed these things in very obvious locations, making sure that Zhongyuan would be able to notice them. A day later, Yushi checked Zhongyuan's room. The silver notes and self-selling contract had been hidden away, as expected. Yushi couldn't figure out what the feeling in his heart was. He only knew that this meant Zhongyuan was truly planning on leaving. 2 more days passed. One night, Zhongyuan suddenly wanted to drink. He also insisted on chatting with Yushi. In his mind, Yushi knew that today was the dreaded day. Yushi didn't have good tolerance, but he still forced himself to drink a lot with Zhongyuan. He remembered how young Zhongyuan had looked at him with a conflicted gaze. Quietly, the other said, "Suiyu, it would be nice if you were my family member." Yushi lifted his head and downed a cup of alcohol. With a deep voice, he answered, "My surname is Yu. How could I be your family member?" Zhongyuan smiled carefreely. "Exactly." Zhongyuan simply poured himself half a bowl of alcohol and drank it in one gulp. Halfway through, Zhongyuan said he felt dizzy. He made Yushi put out the incense burning in the incense burner. Yushi did. When he got back, Yushi could tell that his alcohol had been touched. Young Yushi felt an influx of emotions. He pretended he didn't notice and drank the alcohol. At that time, Yushi had even thought angrily to himself, even if Zhongyuan were poisoning me, I would let him. But that wasn't poison. It was only a small serving of sleeping drugs. Zhongyuan had honestly put in too little sleeping drugs. After half an hour, Yushi finally started feeling sleepy. He couldn't bear to look at Zhongyuan. He thought, traveling by night is difficult. I should just sleep now so you can rest assured and leave earlier. Using his intoxication as an excuse, young Yushi stood up and wobbled a few times. Then, he fell over and was helped by Zhongyuan to the bed. Yushi could very clearly remember that Zhongyuan's hands had been shaking when they held onto him. Yushi leaned against the head of the bed, pretending to be asleep. He could sense that Zhongyuan was half kneeling in front of him. The other stared at him for a long time. Long enough that the effect of the sleeping drugs finally kicked in. Zhongyuan finally moved. He stood up and gently started feeling around Yushi's waist. Half asleep and half awake, Yushi's heart started pounding in his chest. He thought, was Zhongyuan planning on doing something before leaving? Young Yushi also didn't know what he was anticipating. He squeezed his eyes shut, terrified that Zhongyuan would discover he wasn't actually asleep yet. Another moment passed. Yushi felt Zhongyuan starting to feel around his sleeves. Yushi forced himself to stay awake. He thought, wasn't he planning on undoing my waistband earlier? How come he still hasn't succeeded yet? Why is he feeling around my sleeves now? Yushi heard a light clink. He finally couldn't hold himself back, extremely curious as to what Zhongyuan was doing. Thus, he opened his eyes a slit. Young Zhongyuan was using the tablecloth as a bag. It was spread open on the bed. He neatly and quickly removed all the valuable accessories Yushi was wearing, carefully storing them away. Young Yushi almost couldn't keep up the act due to how angry he was. Weren't those silver notes enough? This person, truly wouldn't take any disadvantages. Yushi allowed Zhonwan's plundering. Not long after, the coin bags, jade pendants, fans, rings, etc. on his body had all been removed. Yushi felt slightly regretful. The jade pendants he had worn today weren't very valuable. They weren't as valuable as a whole set. After Zhonwan's rustling surge, the effects of the sleeping drugs completely kicked in. Yushi couldn't keep himself awake any longer. Before falling asleep, he felt Zhonwan coming closer. As to what happened after, though, he had no recollection. As expected, when he woke up the next morning, Zhonwan had already left. Steward Feng was beside himself with agitation. He conducted several searches of the entirety of the large estate, looking time and time again in Zhonwan's previous hiding places. But he couldn't find anything anymore. Zhonwan had really left. Yushi allowed Steward Feng to look around everywhere. He wasn't anxious at all, and also didn't allow anyone to search outside the estate. Yushi closed the door and looked around in his own room a bit. But he didn't find anything. Zhonwan didn't even leave him a letter. Young Yushi felt slightly angry after feeling his empty waste area. He could have even, casually left a few words. He could have even etched an "I was here" onto the table. Yushi refused to give up and went to search Zhonwan's room instead. He turned the little cabinet by the head of the bed upside down, but still didn't find anything. Zhonwan didn't leave anything for him. He had come cleanly and left the same way. Yushi sat for a long time in front of Zhonwan's desk. When he stood, his large sleeves brushed over a book. The book fell onto the ground. Yushi looked down. For an extended period of time, he couldn't speak. That was a copy of the classic of poetry. The book was open to the page of the Odes of Zheng. A few silver notes, a self-selling contract and a travel approval were carefully folded together. Young Zhonwan hadn't brought any of them with him. End chapter. Those years in quest of honor mine. Chapter 29. Yushi could not imagine how difficult Zhonwan's rushed trip to Qianan had been. Without money or travel documents, how much suffering did he experience in those few months? The young Yushi had originally been able to comfort himself that Zhonwan at least had some of Yushi's things on him to sell for money. But as the years passed, those things returned to Yushi's hands one by one. And those items had been untouched. As if things had been pure between them all along, that there was no deeper connection between them. Once again, Yushi started to feel a headache grow. In discomfort, he turned over in bed, a drawn-out sigh escaping his lips. Steward Feng kept watch outside. He could hear Yushi tossing and turning, and entered the room without a sound. He whispered, "Yushizi. Yushizi, did you have a nightmare again?" "No," Yushi said in an indifferent manner. "I haven't even fallen asleep yet." Steward Feng worried that Yushi was unhappy and would do something again. He asked, "Then should I light the sleeping incense?" Yushi impatiently said, "Do you think I'm him?" Steward Feng smiled. "Yes. Young Master Zhong is truly weak against medicine. Each time, a bit of sleeping incense would be enough to knock him out." Yushi stared out the window, gaze far away. As if he were recalling something else. Yushi hesitated over whether he should use the sleeping incense. He truly did not want the Zhonwan in his mind to disturb him. Irritated, he said, "Stop staring at me. I have no energy to do anything right now." Those words rang true. Following each time Yushi had caused some trouble, he would be calm for a period. Just a while ago, he had caused trouble with Xianqiang. For at least half a month, he would not have the urge to commit suicide. Steward Feng secretly worried. He could sense that Yushi didn't want to do such a thing either. Who would torment themselves if their life was going well? However, he had suffered too much. After a while, it would seem as if he could not bear it anymore, and would find something to vent out his feelings on. Steward Feng approached the bed to help Yushi pull the covers up. He saw that Yushi still had his eyes open and softly said, "The people escorting young Master Zhong have already returned. They have given respects to Prince Jianan in place of Yushizi." According to the steward of Prince Jianan's estate, Prince Jianan's illness grew worse. Yushi closed his eyes. "It's highly likely he's faking it." Steward Feng laughed dryly. "It's not guaranteed. He's in a rush to return to Jianan." Yushi frowned. Yesterday when Zhongwan entered the palace, he wanted to request the emperor for permission to leave on behalf of Xian Rui and the others. Yushi smiled mockingly. "Speaking of which, Xian Rui's life is good. Such a useless person unexpectedly survived until now." With a keen sense of smell, Steward Feng was able to smell a hint of something not completely sour but not bitter as well. Something must have come up. He softly said, "Actually, back then Yushizi did not have to let young Master Zhong leave." Yushi hated hearing these words the most. As soon as he had, he frowned. "I've said it many times before that I couldn't." Steward Feng saw an opening and immediately seized it. "But right now, this isn't certain. Right now, could we really not keep him here?" Once again, Yushi fell silent. A while later, he said in a soft voice, "Even if I could keep him, I cannot protect him." For a moment, Steward Feng found it difficult to bear. Full of anxiety, he asked, "Yushizi, are you certain that you won't live long?" "Yes," replied Yushi, tranquil. Steward Feng really wished he could hit him. Contrarily, Yushi felt comforted after saying such words. Using his arms as a pillow, he took his time saying, "Moreover, I hate him. If I keep him by my side, who knows when my sickness would start up again? I might end up strangling him to death." Steward Feng was at a loss and had to ask, "Why does your honored self hate him? Is it because of the stories and lies he told about the two of you for these past years?" No. Yushi narrowed his eyes. "I hate that he clearly could have lived a smooth life if he was ruthless and cold, and yet he insisted of being sincere with just anyone." Steward Feng laughed in spite of himself. "Aren't those young Master Zhong's good points?" "Yes. That's even more of a reason why I should not keep him here." Yushi took a deep breath. "If he did not have this kind of personality, then last night, I would have." Steward Feng felt as if he had heard something important. He rushed to ask, "What about last night?" A trace of hatred flashed through Yushi's eyes. "Last night, I would have done him." Rage filled Steward Feng. "Then you should have done him." Steward Feng felt resentful towards Yushi for not meeting his expectations. "Then in those 4 hours last night, just what did Yushizi?" "I didn't touch him, but," Yushi furrowed his brows and wavered before saying, "but I kind of also did." Steward Feng was anxious to the extreme and feared annoying Yushi by asking. He could only take his time to shamelessly say, "Touch him in what way?" For a long while, Yushi kept silent. Then he said, "A kiss." Shocked, Steward Feng blurted, "Kiss?" Looking elsewhere, Yushi said, "He did it himself." Steward Feng was struck silly to the extreme. Did it himself? Zhongwan had been sleeping like the dead. How did he do it himself? "I was only taking off his outer robes," said Yushi, gloomy. "And he had such an indecent appearance. Then, he said my courtesy name." Steward Feng was struck speechless. He really wanted to help Zhongwan understand what happened to him. In an extremely careful manner, he asked of Zhongwan, "How was he, indecent?" Yushi drew his brows together as he looked at Steward Feng. "Why are you asking about this?" Steward Feng jumped from fear. Forcing a smile, he said, "This old slave simply can't understand why a person like young Master Zhong could fail to conduct himself with dignity." Yushi wanted to say something, but then held himself back. Instead, he said, "In short, He had a very indecent appearance. He recalled that the last time Zhongwan had criticized him harshly, Zhongwan had seemed aroused. And Yushi's throat grew dry. He moved around in discomfort. In the first place, I only wanted to take a look at him. But he insisted on provoking me. He deserved it? Serves him right. He truly deserved it? No regard for his decency. No regard for his self-respect. Steward Feng bitterly agreed. He truly deserved it, but your honored self only kissed him. Steward Feng hesitated over and over again. He feared Yushi still did not know certain things. Mindful of Yushi's expression, he softly said, speaking of which, Yushi Z isn't young anymore. A few years ago, the royal princess asked this old slave if it's time to arrange for a few servant girls to teach Yushi Z about matters of the flesh. This old slave guessed that Yushi Z would not want the people from the princess, so this offer was rejected on Shizi's behalf. Now that this old slave recalls it, should we arrange for some suitable and older female servants over? All of a sudden, Yushi was looking at Steward Feng. No need to bring people to teach me. I am knowledgeable of such matters. Yes, yes, yes. Steward Feng was scared nearly half dead. Yushizi naturally knows. Baffled, Yushi stared at Steward Feng. Do you all think about this every day? I am not like regular people, but I'm not as bad as to not even understand this. I already understood it completely by the time I was in my teens. Steward Feng blurted loudly, understood, understood, understood. Don't bring those strange people into my inner chamber. Yushi stared at Steward Feng, taking precautions. I don't want women, nor would I father descendants. If I see people that I should not see in my residence, I will strangle them in an instant. Steward Feng's heart trembled. Then Yushizi. Yushi didn't even need to think about it. Of course I don't need this even more. Steward Feng wanted to say something, before hesitating. Toward young Master Zhong, Yushizi is clearly. Yushi knit his brows. I kissed him because he didn't conduct himself with dignity. He almost convinced Steward Feng. Steward Feng mumbled to himself, yes, it's young Master Zhong himself who flirted in his dream so well. He actually called out Yushizi's courtesy name in his dream. If this isn't being frivolous, then what is it? Yushizi is young. When would he meet this kind of person? It's inevitable he would be confused by young Master Zhong. That he dared to say this in his dream makes it clear he's allowing Yushizi to do things to him. Yushi found it reasonable, his mood improving a bit. Downcast, Steward Feng said, that's why Yushizi taking liberties with him was deserved. These matters had disturbed Yushi before, making him feel ill at ease. Yet at this moment, he had fully recovered. He closed his eyes. Exactly. Steward Feng itched to beat up Yushi. Fuming with rage between gritted teeth, he said, since he was unable to bear it, then why didn't Yushizi just? Irritated, Yushi said, if he couldn't bear it, does that automatically mean I couldn't as well? Also. After that, he became very content with his lot, lying in my embrace and sleep in a very honest manner. Young Prince Yu was clear on rewards and punishments. Steward Feng had nothing to say. Yushi used this meticulous analysis to ease his own anxiety, growing a lot more comfortable. He pulled up the covers on himself. I'm tired. You can leave. Steward Feng retreated. He felt that things couldn't go on like this. He wrote another letter to Zhongwan. In Prince Qian'an's estate, Zhongwan had dismissed the servants and was just starting to speak with Xiankengzin. Zhongwan had not returned all night. Worried to the extreme, Xiankengzin repeatedly asked him what had happened. Yesterday. Ugh, I don't want to talk about it. It's a mess. He laughed in spite of himself. I have some proper business to talk to you about. Xiankengzin practically had not slept all night, and glanced at Zhongwan in a rebuking manner. Then, with a mountain of patience, she said, "Speak. Yesterday, I had originally wanted to request from the emperor to allow your brother to return to Jianan. Unfortunately, other matters had sprung up and messed this up. At present, fifth prince, Xian Qian, had swallowed a stomach full of water and it's uncertain what else had occurred. His Majesty certainly doesn't have the energy to take care of our matters." Zhonwan had a splitting headache. Another imperial prince had an accident. If we keep asking to return to Jianan, it might actually produce the opposite of our desired effect, inspiring the emperor's suspicion. What I mean is. Zhonwan paused. Then he said, I used Xian Yu's name to send a memorial, which read that Xian Rui was very ill, and as such asked to allow at least him, to return to Jianan first. Xian Kengzin frowned. Only allow my eldest brother to return. His Majesty's birthday has yet to arrive, yet accidents occur in the capital one after another. If we all leave together, it would attract too much attention. The emperor is mistrustful. I'm afraid that he would think our Prince Jianan estate is scheming. Zhonwan helplessly said, when that time comes, none of us would be able to leave. Xian Kengzin was unable to understand the deeper matters like Zhonwan. However, she nodded in a hesitant manner. The emperor would not kill children, Zhonwan lightly reassured her. You are a girl, so it's even safer. Xian Kengzin did not seem any happier after hearing these words. Lowering her head, she said, this I know. Zhonwan said, with me around, you all will definitely be safe. So, let's have you eldest brother leave first, all right. A smile appeared on Xian Kengzin's lips. For you to swear such an oath with me and for you to plan all this, it will obviously be the safest method. The best method for us. I will agree to your plan, but... Zhonwan and Xian Kengzin said at the same time, no need to tell Xian Yu. The two laughed. A sigh left Xian Kengzin's lips. I'm also useless. It's already good enough that you aren't a bit suspicious of me. He smiled. Your eldest brother will be leaving soon, so don't argue with him in these next 2 days. Give him the fox fur coat you were making for him. Xian Kengzin nodded. All of a sudden, she said, how about you return to Jianan with him? You said before that the emperor wouldn't do anything to us. After His Majesty's birthday, I can return with Xian Yu. How could we do that? Zhonwan didn't even think about it. He couldn't help but laugh. When the prince sees from heaven that I left you 2 children here, he will strike me with lightning in the middle of the night. For a moment, a wave of sadness washed over Xian Kengzin. She knew she could not support their estate and could no longer talk. She forced a smile. Well, you still haven't married that young lady. Now that it's mentioned, where is she? It's been so many days but I've yet to see any sign of her. Now that the topic of conversation came to this, Zhonwan suffered another headache. Perhaps. It's not going smoothly. It was very difficult to handle. Discontent, Xian Kengzin said, just what does she not like? Don't blame them. Zhonwan smiled bitterly. When they were young, they suffered a lot. Now their personality isn't very good. I need to try harder. Xian Kengzin thought for a moment, then nodded in understanding. She's getting old and her body is tall and sturdy. That's why she's more sensitive than others. Since you like her this much, then try hard. As Zhonwan smiled once more, someone knocked outside. Zhonwan allowed that person to enter. It was a messenger with a letter from Steward Feng. He received the letter and opened it in front of Xian Kengzin. After he finished reading it, his expression changed several times. He almost cursed right in front of Xian Kengzin. She scrutinized Zhonwan's expression. Probingly asked, is that letter from that young lady? Zhonwan nodded with much difficulty. Xian Kengzin thought, this girl truly is courageous. What did she say? Immensely discouraged, Zhonwan replied, "They said they dislike how indecent I am." Xiankangxin paled from fear. Zhonwan waved, asking her to return to her courtyard. Xiankangxin was astonished by how open-minded the culture was at the capital. She left while still holding on to her astonishment. Once she had left his courtyard, Zhonwan picked up the letter again. He wasn't sure if his eyes had made a mistake. As his hands shook, he carefully read the letter once more. Yu Shizi said that young master does not have any self-respect. Yu Shizi said that young master did not remove your outer robe during sleep, and was clearly trying to seduce men by making Yu Shizi help you remove it. Yu Shizi is young and vigorous, and suddenly saw someone sleeping without taking off their outer clothes. How could he have resisted? Zhonwan was so angry that he went dizzy as if he heard ringing in his ears. He drank a sip of tea, and continued to read. So, Yu Shizi unconsciously kissed you. End chapter.